today. Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephanie Jones, and I'm the founder and CEO for the Cultural Heritage Economic Alliance and the founder of the Blacks in Travel and Tourism Collaborative. We want to welcome you back to our second virtual conversation with Blacks in Travel and Tourism. If you joined us 2 weeks ago, we welcome you back. And if this is your first time with us, get ready for a vibrant conversation with some of the top Black multicultural tourism executives in the industry. All right, so sit back. If you have questions, please do pose your questions. We will have an opportunity to view some of your questions and have our panelists address them at the end of the webinar, okay? So for our first webinar, June 11th, we had over 300 people that joined us for the conversation. And today we also have over 300 people who have registered to be with us today. Many of you reached out to us through our website to express interest in getting involved in our efforts. And I just want you to know that you will be hearing from our team next week because it's time to get plugged in, and we're looking forward to working with you all. If you have not yet joined the collaborative, please feel free to visit our website, which is www.blacksintourism.org. There are many ways that you can get plugged in to what we're doing. And as I mentioned, next week, we will be reaching out to you all specifically with details on how you can be involved in the work that we're doing to advance Blacks in travel and tourism, but also to create broader diversity, inclusion, and equity for Blacks in travel and tourism. So we want to thank you again for joining us on this webinar. At this time, I'd like to introduce one of our presenting partners for the Blacks in Travel and Tourism Dollar and Cents webinar series, and that's Mr. Solomon Herbert, who's the publisher and editor-in-chief for Black Meetings and Tourism. And he's going to be bringing you greetings right now. Solomon?
Well, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate in this webinar today. It's always been a mission of us at Black Meetings and Tourism to work to support one another in this industry, to provide a platform for folks that look like us to express what they're doing and express their opinions. So we think that this is we thank Stephanie, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to work together to bring us all closer together. I know we all have our own agendas, we all have our own organizations, but there's so much overlap there. The time has come, and this climate now in society is the right time for us to grasp this opportunity to work together and to develop some unity, because with unity, we'll get a lot further than us working separately.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Solomon. It means a lot to me personally to have you and Gloria part of this effort. I also would like to introduce one of our other presenting partners for the webinar series, and that's Sherry Brown, who's the Vice President of Multicultural Sales and Development for Visit Tampa Bay. Sherry, would you like to bring words of greeting?
Thank you, Stephanie. Welcome, everyone, on behalf of the sunny paradise of Tampa. And I'm glad to join my colleagues here on this vital information session here. And I look forward to this enhancing us to move forward in the future and to, just come together in great partnership. I am looking forward to an extensive relationship with Gloria and Saul with Black Meetings and Tourism.
Thank you,
and
Sherry.
Partnering with Stephanie, with you, and this is going to be great for our future.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you so very much. Again, thank you all for joining us for our second webinar in the Dollars and Cents webinar series presented by Blacks in Travel and Tourism. Right now, I would like to introduce our moderator for this afternoon, and that's Ms. Gloria Herbert. Gloria is the co-publisher and editor for Black Meetings and Tourism. and she will be introducing our phenomenal panelists who represent many of the destination management organizations across the country. So Gloria, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks so very much. And again, welcome to all of you. As you've heard many times, this is the time for your voice to be heard. I just want to emphasize that every one of you brings something unique, but something essential. And we have put together a panel of extraordinary voices that need to be heard. You've heard a little bit from her already, but one of our panelists, again, is Sherry Brown, the Vice President of Multicultural Sales and Development at Visit Tampa Bay. And here's a voice that you know and a face that you recognize, Al Hutchinson, President and CEO of Visit Baltimore. Another one of our superstars, Ms. Connie Kennard, who's Vice President of Multicultural Tourism and Development for the Greater Miami CVB. And of course, we couldn't do this without Greg DeShields. Greg is the Executive Director of PHL Diversity. One of these very recent participants who we've seen on the rise is Ms. Karen Aaron. Karen is the former president and CEO of Greater Newark CVB. So we are so thankful and appreciative to all of our panelists for coming together and sharing information with us at this time. I'd like to present a question, and I'm asking all the panelists to feel free to add any input at any point, but particularly I'd like to address this to Karen Aaron. What is the current state of your DMO, and how specifically has your destination marketing efforts been impacted by COVID-19? Karen, is that something that you could address?
Yes, absolutely. And just want to say thank you again to Stephanie and her team for this panel. So as I've been in touch with several of our DMO partners and colleagues from all over the country, I think all of us can agree that we all have been affected quite severely. And, you know, in the early days of COVID-19, our number one priority was not destination marketing. Our number one priority was the health and the safety of our community, of our residents. So when you put things in perspective, that tourism is community, and how the CVB can work well during this time with our municipalities to provide resources or volunteerism or any type of these avenues that we can be a better support resource to our city. That is what we had to do in the very beginning. And I think that now that times are starting to open, I mean, things like the economy start to open again and guests are starting to move around a bit, we still have to remember our role in how we support our community. I'm just excited because I'm excited, but I'm nervous. You know, this is something that's unprecedented that affects all of us. And this is where we're going to have to lean on each other to kind of collaborate and come together and share resources. So a platform like this is exactly what we need to make sure that we are addressing every question, every visitor, but still maintaining the respect of our community. We're listening, and that we also care about their health and safety and well-being. So yes, I think that all of us has been affected, but we realized what was important, and that was the importance was on our community, and that's what mattered the most.
Hey, Gloria, if I can just chime in on this conversation of the impact of COVID on the DMO space. And I don't think Visit Baltimore is unique in this. I think it's impacted all of the DMOs. But to give you an example, you know, we've been teleworking since March the 13th. The city cut our budget from $13.2 million to $7.8 million. And that's a 40% cut. And as a result of that, we had to lay off 10 full-time people, 42 part-time people. We have 12 people on a furlough basis beginning July 1st. Until September 30th. And if we don't find any federal stimulus money, those 12 folks will have to be let go as well. So I think what COVID has done to most destinations is decimated us. It's closed us down. And that the real reality is we've impacted folks' jobs, right? It's people who take care of their families, pay mortgages, send their kids to college. A lot of those folks in our community are not working. And so this puts us in a really tough spot right now. And I think as an industry, we're going to have to, we're going to be different on the other side of COVID, but we have to come together, get out of our silos and figure out how do we come together for the benefit of the entire industry to help each other and not look at it as just, I'm just trying to bring business to Baltimore. We got to have a broader conversation about travel and tourism on the other side of COVID.
That's true. I'll piggyback on Al as far as our bureau. You know, we're still working. However, we're monitoring just like everybody else. We've got to see how the economy turns. Our whole staff took cuts in salary from 5 to 25%. Our contract workers and partners, we had to cut those. We cut the fat everywhere we could. But also we know that this is a month to month to budget to forecast type thing. And so, you know, we are, as far as our marketing plan, I'm sure everybody else feels the same way. It's kind of like what marketing plan that you had before. Now we're looking at ways to recover and kind of funneling our dollars in that vein, along with some programming. But we really had to kind of restructure as well and refocus.
I might want to add, this is Sherry, a quote from our president, Santiago Carrata, the strength of a person during challenging times. This is what he's carried us on as a leader and how we immediately tried to get ahead of all of this with our CDC guidelines, with working with the Florida Department of Health. One of our partners is Tampa General, which is our headquarter kind of hospital, came on board to teach us some things about safety and things like that. But we were devastated with staff cuts, with financial cuts, but we as a community have come together, from our mayor to our county officials, to build a family relationship to get through this, to our hotel partners, through our shareholders, through our attractions. It's almost like when a family is going through something. Here in Tampa, we just came together as a family to get through this, you know, to strengthen us. So I want to just give a shout out to my president through that quote that he says all the time: the strength of a person is during the challenging times.
Wow. So this is Greg DeShields from Philadelphia, and I have to do a special shout out to Sherry and Saul and Gloria and Stephanie, and thank you for inviting Philadelphia to be a part of this conversation. One of the things I would probably start out with, you know, following up on a lot of the comments that have been made, we do have a new president at the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, Greg Caron, and as he has delivered in most of his opening remarks, it's been, this is the best of times and the worst of times. As many of our fellow DMOs or CVBs were poised for an incredible record-breaking year in 2020, by the time we hit March 15th, the world completely changed and just continues to change. And I think although we had a lot of excitement that was anticipated for 2020, I think we have to work a lot harder to do the kind of work that we do as an organization. You know, in Philadelphia, what we've opted to do is really look forward to what will be ultimately the new normal in this country, and that we will continue to take steps, as I'm sure all of the other CVBs or DMOs that are represented, to make sure that their destinations are positioned for success. We did launch a new campaign, and I think, as everyone has said, the old marketing plan had to be kind of put on the shelf or removed completely. So we launched one that was called Perseverance, Hope, and Love. And the campaign is really about the road to recovery. And within that, we have a video, and we've created some toolkit that really helps to embrace this idea that we're all in this together and that we all will move forward and we will get through this. One of the things that we, as I'm sure in some of the other cities did that we're really proud of, is we partnered with our local hotel association. You know, we have 75,000 workers in our hospitality sector, and as across all cities, they were devastated in terms of layoffs and furloughs. So we did create, or I should say collaborate on our COVID-19 Hospitality Workers Relief Fund. You know, we were able to provide them direct resources. I think at the end of the day, you know, what COVID will do to us is make us stronger in what we do, and we will all have to rebuild. But as we know, that there's always going to be a desire for people to travel, visit, and network with each other. Thanks.
Absolutely. And I just might add that BM&T is doing our part, hopefully, because we are offering free promotional videos and virtual tours at no cost. So we're asking all of our DMO friends to please provide us with that so we can share with our audience as well. In terms of the businesses, Black tourism businesses, I'd like to ask our panelists, would you share what specific actions your DMO has taken to support Black businesses who rely on tourism to survive during this corona pandemic? Anybody like to?
Sure. I mean, I'll start with that. So, as you know, PHL Diversity, or what was, formerly known as the Multicultural Affairs Congress, has really been a leader in terms of focusing on the access for economic opportunity for diverse businesses. And a lot of that was through our strategic participation in various Chamber of Commerce that represent those diverse communities and their business interests. So we've been a committed partner for a number of years, and we continue to provide them guidance and resources. And part of that is as a result of us launching the COVID-19 resource portal that we have. But through the efforts, we've worked very closely with our African American Chamber of Commerce, which has done a lot of spotlights on various restaurants and hospitality service related businesses through their membership. Our Asian Chamber of Commerce actually did a program called Asian Eats, which was really focused during Asian Heritage Month on all the great Asian restaurants in Philadelphia. And similar to our Latino community, they actually have a program called Dine Latino Weekend. And then there's an extension of that that's really meant for all Latino businesses that are really focused around recalibrate, retool, and restart. And then through our LGBT community, through their Chamber of Commerce, we have been very intimately, collaboratively engaged with them around an intersection program that is really meant to focus on outreach efforts and to ensure that the LGBT Chamber has collaborative partnerships with all of the other chambers. I think it is about us doing collaborative efforts in order to provide access and raise the voice for those businesses that are out there. So those are some of the things we're doing in Philly.
And I'll chime in on that. And I wanted to first thank Stephanie. Thank you for this. Stephanie has worked with the Greater Miami Convention Visitors Bureau as well. So we thank you. Glo, Solomon, happy birthday to you again. And Sherry, thank you for being a part of this collaborative. And I'll backtrack a little bit. We have a program under our department, under Multicultural Tourism, that's our Tourism Business Enhancement Program. And it's about building capacity in the neighborhoods. And a lot of those neighborhoods, whether it's Little Haiti, it's Overtown, it's Coconut Grove, deal a lot with Black businesses. So we've been in that space for a long time now, but then what we've done is kind of transferred and ramped it up during this phase of COVID and working with the businesses. I mentioned before we had to kind of realign our budgets, of course, but what we're able to do is outreach to our businesses. We're in touch with them, we're engaged with them. We're trying to find out where they are so we can help be a conduit for information. So we're very engaged with them as far as just even picking up the phone and calling. We have scheduled several programming pieces, webinars from when we all first had to come home, how to work from home, how to do business virtually, to business continuity, to our arts group where we've done webinars on the comeback and the creative way that you can be in this space. So, our intent is to provide information and keep in touch. We even have one coming up, and you all are all invited. Les Brown, who is Liberty City born, a Miami person. We have him on July 1st from 4 to 5 p.m. doing a webinar on building together forward. So, part of our outreach is in that capacity. But then in addition to that, I know Greg talked about the Greater campaign, and I think one of our questions coming up will be about the recovery and marketing. But our recovery program is called Miami Shines. Miami Shines. And in that, there are a lot of capacities, from Miami Eats to our virtual Miami to saluting the first responders. But in all those aspects, we do outreach to our community to make sure they're included in those. So all those businesses that you kind of reach out to see if they're open for pickup and delivery, we did an extra emphasis in all of our heritage communities, but particularly our Black businesses. And then we're also showcasing businesses in the community that are shining. And definitely we're showcasing a Black-owned hotel coming up, Duns Josephine, who is housing the vulnerable community, the homeless community. So that hotel has stepped up to help. And so we're featuring that particular hotel in Miami Shine. So, you know, that's our outreach. It's just, we're trying to encourage, you know, we don't want any of our businesses to close, and that could happen realistically, but we're doing all we can to just help close that gap.
So,
I want to just add, I'm sorry.
no, go sure.
I just want to add, like Connie, we here in Tampa, we lost a lot of citywide conventions for this summer. So what we did was take some initiatives with some of the fraternities, sororities, some of the African-American church organizations, and start giving them information to go directly to our barbecue restaurants, to our soul food restaurants when we didn't have anyone traveling here. I am very proud to say today, we lost a lot of conventions, but this weekend, over the next 4 days, we have over 4,000 African-American motorcycle riders in town for an event called the United Bikers Jamboree. And they're coming from all over the world, even from as far as Hawaii. So you say, how did they get there? Flew in and rented bikes. So we had to come up with creative, different kind of conventions of bikers, and it's outside. But yet I just got an email from our Vice President of Services that they're going to be using a lot of our Ybor City, our culture district tonight, for a bike night. So we're doing things that wasn't, you know, we usually go after the church conventions, but this biker convention, and these are CEOs that ride bikes instead of play golf, and they riding $100,000 Harleys. Our mayor's involved, our Hillsborough County Commission is involved, my boss is involved. And so what we did was take a twist on something that was not normal, the new normal, and go another way. But yet all of our African-American organizations will be getting a lot of business this weekend. Now, what happens after that, we'll have to come up with something creative, but I'm very proud that we got a nice piece of business this weekend from a unique kind of market of these bikers coming in. But our Black-owned businesses will definitely benefit this weekend, and then we'll go back to some of the other initiatives of using local organizations to support the soul food restaurants, to support the Black businesses.
Just two additional things. I know I got a lot of DMO friends on the phone that we put in place for Black businesses as well as small businesses. And one was we reached out to several distilleries here in Baltimore City that make spirits and whiskey. And we were able to get them to convert over to hand sanitizers. So early in COVID, we delivered hand sanitizers to a number of our Black businesses, our small businesses, as well as our nonprofits to help them. We're still making those deliveries as we speak, and we think that's been helpful. Now, another initiative we did was from an education standpoint. We had a call today with our health commissioner, who happens to be an African-American doctor, and we're really talking to Black business owners and just the Black community about COVID, because it has such a disproportionate impact on the African-American community. And I think from an education standpoint, we need to double down on this conversation, because all of us are living with the virus. It's not going away until we get a vaccine. So I think as a DMO, we can take a leadership position on help to educate not only the hospitality industry, but our entire residents and citizens in our communities.
And I'll just summarize what Sherry, Allen, Greg, and everyone has said. I think that we all have to be creative. I think that we have to think outside the box on, you know, what's the best event or the best fit for our destinations now, how we're going to lean into the community and see what they need, and what's going to fit for our new normal going forward. So I think that this is an opportunity for all of us to reinvent our marketing plans. Look who's in our community, see what their affiliations are with other associations and organizations. Speak to your faith-based organizations. You'll be surprised at the impact that they have on meetings and conventions and leisure travel. So I think thinking outside the box is a direction that we all have to do And I think that that's may have to be our mission going forward.
Great.
Thank you very much. Very helpful information from all of you. Now that most of the U.S. economy has reopened for business, how is your DMO planning to attract tourists to your destination? And what protocols is your destination putting in place to allay the fears of some travelers who may be reluctant to visit because of the COVID-19 concerns? So I'll just open that up to all of our panelists. If anybody wants to comment about that. And Connie, I think particularly you might have some information to share about how your DMO is helping with that for businesses and planning to attract tourists.
Sure, and I talked a little bit before about our overall, we had a pre-recovery and now we're moving respectfully through what we call our recovery plan. And I say respectfully because, you know, it's all, you know, contingent too on the COVID and how that moves forward. And I think we all can agree it's going to be hard to build some of the consumer trust for travel really until there are good methods to treat it or a vaccine. But we do have a campaign launch called Miami Shines, which really showcases our destinations, and particularly about this video and this campaign. At least the media part really shows Miami from a different perspective. It shows from the Everglades to even hiking to outdoors activity, which honestly, I think really during this gap is what makes people feel even a little safer by being outside. So our campaign is about that. We've moved into the next phase. So if you check out our website, you'll see a little bit more engagement to kind of encourage people that, you know, things are starting to open, you know, move forward and things like that. And so we have that, we're launching that, we're monitoring, we're talking to our clients. I know our convention sales, they're in contact with their clients and letting them know some of the things that the hotels are doing, planning to do for conventions and leisure travel, which I think is important. I think a lot of travelers want to know that the hotels and the restaurants have safety precautions and are following them. So I know there's constant engagement now with our clients. We're at this point where everything is virtual now, but we're trying to make it be where, you know, if you want to come, we'll try to figure it out, because there is a point where the curve will need to turn. But again, you know, there's spikes everywhere now. So I think we're all just kind of monitoring how we move forward, and we're being optimistic.
So this is Greg. You know, what I will say, you know, Philadelphia is really a unique city in as much as we have a significant amount of life sciences, biomedical, pharma that, you know, is based here. And unique to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, aside from, you know, business development divisions like PHL Diversity and of course PHL Sport, we have PHL Life Sciences. And we've really doubled down on this idea in terms of the fears that some people may have of traveling, and embrace that concept of safe and clean. And I think fundamentally, as you look at the Perseverance, Hope and Love campaign, what we really wanted to do as we move from the yellow phase into the green phase, to make sure that we are really prepared for the arrival of guests, and that businesses are in the best position in order to provide people the kind of experience that they feel very safe and comfortable with. So amongst the resources that we're able to partner with through PHL Life Sciences, we've developed a survey to kind of capture some of the initiatives that different businesses might be having. You know, although there's some standards that are being presented from CDC and from other national organizations, different businesses are going to do different things. And what we want to be able to do is find a way to kind of garner all that information. So we did launch a survey to our members to get some of the details that are associated with what they might have as an in-house practice. But in addition, through PHL Life Sciences, we have a PH Health Pledge. We've outlined some specific best practices and guidances that businesses can sign up for. And by signing up on those, we can share that information in a consistent way to our customers when they say, what are my experiences going to be like in Philadelphia? And what can I expect if I go to a retail store, if I go to a restaurant? You know, what type of measures do they have in place? One of the other things that we were able to do was to launch a task force through the life sciences division so that we can tap into a lot of the knowledge experts around the areas of safe and clean. We had a ability to launch 2 very customized podcasts. One really talked in general about the road to recovery and what we can expect from our chief administrator, Angela Val. And then we followed that up with one of our board members from Life Sciences, who's with the Wistar Institute here in Philadelphia, which is actually working on a vaccine to give a much more granular interpretation of the research that's underway in order to address COVID-19. I think, the more destinations embrace the idea of providing, solid guidelines, definite information, protocols that are somewhat consistent as visitors travel, it will, continue to have an impact. And I think as we look at all the destinations that are represented here, we all are launching some efforts. And I think that's what ultimately affects the way that customers' perceptions will change. If they have a great experience in Philly, if they have a great experience in Baltimore and all across the other cities that are represented, I think we can be much more on our way to the road to recovery.
Well, folks from the South have to get to Baltimore before they get to Philadelphia. So one of the things that we did from a certification standpoint, because I think right now you have to let the traveler know and your residents know that health is first, right? So just last week, we did a press release. We partnered with the International Sanitary Supply Association, ISSA, with their GBAC program. And we're going to bring an accreditation of hygiene and cleanliness to Baltimore. About over 200 of our stakeholders and members will go through this, all hotels, restaurants, tours, our convention center, our stadiums will be a part of this accreditation program. We're paying for it, Visit Baltimore, so it's going to be easy for our members to do. And it's all self-paced. And so we're hopeful that in the next 30 days, we'll start having members that have gone through this accreditation program. We believe it's going to be helpful to Baltimore because we have to give the traveler some confidence that if they decide to come see us, what have we put in place to give them some comfort? There's no 100% assurance, but I think you need to give all your travelers as well as your residents some comfort. So we decided to do this partnership. We think it's going to help in the travel space, but also I think it's going to help us with our residents who work at our hotels and work at our restaurants. And when they come back to work, they know that their place of work has gone through some steps to give them some assurance when it comes to safety and health. Another piece of the puzzle from a strategy end, we're going to double down on our leisure visitor in the short term because we think there's pent up demand, as all of us know. Folks are going to get in the car at least 200 miles an hour. They're going to drive to communities. And we want to begin to give that message to that leisure traveler. And so we put a pause on our new marketing campaign. We're hoping to roll it out in the next 30 days. And then we're going to couple that with a civic pride campaign of Baltimore City and 5 surrounding counties, because we need our region to fall in love with our community. And we want to use them and we're going to create a brand for them as well to help us to invite folks to the Baltimore region. So we really believe from sports travel as well as that leisure visitor, there are some opportunities there for us to capture them now while people try to figure out the air travel. A lot of folks aren't going to be comfortable until there's a vaccine. But I think getting in the car might be a different story. So that's what we're going to do in the short term.
And I'll jump in and echo what Al said. Local campaigns, local marketing, hyper local may be the direction that we're all in, over the next 12 to 18 months. But it's all about communication. Your visitor needs to hear from inside the community that it's safe and that they're welcome. You may have to lean on your social media influencers, those that's in the Bureau and those that are in your community, to continue to put that message out that your city is welcome and ready to receive them. Our backyard has always been your biggest advocate. So those are other things that we're going to have to continue to do. But I agree, visitors are itching, they're ready to go, but they're still unsure. So whatever that message is and whomever you need to partner with, that's the direction that one should go. I also would encourage everyone to stay in touch and lean on your state travel and tourism offices. sometimes they have some messaging and campaigns or some things that are out there that you can use and you can share on. So those are just other areas that you want to appear that you're in sync with your DMO partners that are in and around your communities, but also with what the state is saying, because that tells the traveler, whether they're coming in by car or air, that you're ready to receive them and that it is safe.
I might add, for the event this weekend, we're working with Tampa General Hospital Urgent Care. We have at least about 9 nurses that's going to be at the biker event, and everybody has to get their temperature checked. There are social distancing guidelines, as well as at the event and at our restaurants throughout the city. So we have, we're hosting a great event, but yet we're showing the area and nationwide that we're practicing, safety has, practices also. So it's just really a great time to take this and make it positive in a challenging time, yet with safety. And once you assure the market that they're safe, then they like, okay, I can enjoy myself. So coming is a great thing, but we want to make sure that they're safe too. So those are some of the initiatives that we did with Tampa General Urgent Care for this event. And we may have them on board for future conventions and meetings also as we go forward, from this pandemic. That's it.
Well, we all know that it is a new normal, but we're making it work. That's the intelligent thing to do. So I do want to ask the panelists another question, and all of you can feel free to add as you see fit. The question is, when do you anticipate tourists and groups will start traveling and hosting meetings and events in your destination? And the second part to that is, how is your DMO preparing for conventions and special events? Anybody wants to address that?
Sure. I mean, I'll start. The road to recovery is certainly going to be a multi-year process. And we feel very strongly that with a very measured approach, as well as being mindful of the time that it'll take for there to be a confidence level built up in the leisure segment and then the corporate travel and then leading to the group segment, that, we'll all be in it for the long haul. I think as it relates to how you'll prepare for upcoming meetings and conventions, it's all about being innovative. And if you're not going to be innovative, you're going to have to be creative. Although we have these guidelines, it certainly doesn't mean that you cannot pivot and adapt your business in order to continue to provide people with an experience, because that's what we're in the business for. We provide people with these, great memories that they take back. So I think it's understanding that, this is a multi-year process to move it back forward. People will want to travel. They'll start in leisure, they'll go to corporate, and then they'll move to group. But it's important that we look at these guidelines as new ways to adapt new strategies and new technologies and innovative approach to ensure that we stay focused on the same thing, providing people with a memorable experience.
I may add, here in Tampa, we really are the relationship mecca of the world. So what we're doing now is taking initiatives to maintain those relationships with the citywide conventions. Example is Fred Bell with A&M Shriners. We usually call them all the time during good times, but to keep those relationships and nurture, and just to call to see how you're doing and what are some of the concerns of your attendees, what are some of the concerns of moving forward. And then when it's time to move forward, we always have the relationships and we're in place to move forward and to help them move forward in a safe way with the new normal of how we're going to do African American conventions. So that's what Tampa is about, the relationships with the planners, with the travel counselors, with people like Stephanie's organizations, with tours and things like that, of how we're going to move forward and with the relationship, because they will come, as long as you have the relationship with them. So that's what Tampa is all about here.
I'll piggyback on
I'll
Sherry.
just jump in real quick.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'll just jump in real quick. I'm fortunate that I have a lot of friends and clients that are meeting planners, and they are just as troubled as we are. So I had a call recently with a woman. She's a contract planner for an association here in DC. So as they toy with whether or not they're going to host their convention, her needs are, how can the Bureau help with volunteers that can check, distribute masks or check temperatures? How can she find a local hospital in that community that's going to help them navigate their conventioners that's going to be coming in town? So just again, being that resource and providing those services uphand, or offering that service if they are talking about coming or not coming, that you can help navigate those partnerships. Because the reality to her was, it's a risk to bring in 600, 700, 800, 1,000 people into a convention center in a city that they have never been in. But how can they ensure their guests would make it, and also making them feel comfortable about coming in town? So if the city is present and the Bureau is present, and there's a local hospital and there's local distribution, and then there's the charity, those are the type of things that's going to help their attendees feel more comfortable, and she feel more comfortable about hosting her convention in that city.
Mm-hmm. And just to kind of to piggyback on what you said, both Sherry and Karen, relationships are key. One of the good things I'm very thankful for, and in particular our convention sales team, right at the beginning when people were very concerned, and I know all of you all have faced conventions moving and wanting to look at new dates and all those good things. Well, we were there to help that process happen quickly. And those planners, and fortunately, we were able to rebook those in future years from 2021 to 22 or however it worked. And so, the hope for, as you mentioned about when will business come back, it's about consumer trust and monitoring. I think a lot of them have reached out and they're hopeful that 2021 will be a year that they can trickle back in some format in future years. And so that's part of the outlook. But then in the meantime, we have a lot of virtual programs going on, virtual Miami, and showing our destination and showing all those things, and just engagement so that they won't forget us, that they know we're here. And when the time is right, when they feel good about it, and we're not overselling anybody at this point, because now is not the time to do that. It is about health and safety, but we're doing some of those things to kind of keep our partners, our meeting planners, leisure travelers engaged.
So I'll try not to be David Downer here, but this is one that we got to tread really lightly on from a health standpoint. I want to reopen. I want to get people back to meeting, but here's a challenge that we're all dealing with. We don't have a national way to go about this. The federal government has allowed each state to come up with their own criteria. And so because each state is doing it, and also cities, we got all these rises in cases, particularly in the Southeast now, down there where you are, Sherry, Texas, California. It was on the Northeast, Greg, with us. And those folks who live in Texas, they may want to come to Maryland. Or those folks in Florida want to come to Philly. So this is a really, really big deal. And so I think in the DMO space, we need to get our state tourism boards, our governors, to have a broader conversation about how this impacts the work we do. All of us need money. So we need to get this next form of stimulus money to help rebuild the states and the cities and the DMOs. But we then need to have a broader conversation about how do we manage COVID? How do we give the consumer confidence to travel when each individual state got carte blanche to do whatever they want to do? And because of that, it creates these pockets and these surges that none of us really know. I want to open up tomorrow, but can somebody tell me when we're going to be okay? Nobody knows the answer to that.
Yes.
So we got to have a broader conversation. We got to get our Fed folks to help us with this. And to me, that's going to be important until we get a vaccine or a hybrid drug. we got to get our federal folks to help us with giving consumer confidence. We can't do it by ourselves.
Thank you for those really important, really insightful comments. I do want to ask the panel to consider another question. With the current civil unrest in our country due to racial and social injustices, what exactly is your DMO doing to address the lack of diversity, inclusion, and equity for Blacks in travel and tourism? If any or all of you wish to comment about that. Greg, I think you particularly had some
I did.
words to share.
I wanted to, just reference, the PHL Diversity or the Multicultural Affairs Congress since 1987 has always taken this up as a primary charge for us. Over the years, we've put forth a number of different programs and initiatives to ensure that people of color can certainly find their way of aspiring to careers. Needless to say, our industry continues to be challenged with that, and it is important for all of us to keep our foot to the pedal to the metal to move us forward. Amongst the things we do here in Philadelphia, we have a dedicated advisory board of 62 that represents leaders in all of our diverse communities. And we look at specific programming and initiatives that we know will have a direct effect in increasing the opportunity for people of color to aspire in this business. One of the things we launched 5 years ago was a collaboration with MPI. We created a scholarship in the name of Jack Ferguson, who was our previous president, and it was really dedicated to create resources for a meeting planner of color to go to MPI's annual conference. And we've done that for 5 years. Melanie Foreman just recently won the award and will be going to the upcoming MPI conference. We've also worked in the college space very intimately with the National Society of Minorities in Hospitality to ensure that we can provide resources for students to attend that national conference to find career opportunities in the hospitality industry. And on average, we send about 50 to 60 kids to that conference each year, working collaboratively with a lot of our HBCUs to ensure that the students have opportunities in the career side of the corporate side of their career. We've looked at specialized program. We've produced a diversity and inclusion conference, bringing leaders together to talk about the issues of the lack of representation of people of color from a very granular perspective, with an ultimate result solution approach to addressing this. We do produce a podcast, and that provides us an opportunity to bring voice from a variety of perspectives, and that's been 5 years. But I think of all the things we've done, the most important thing that we've done, and Al's on the call, so I want to make sure I do the shout out. We joined a number of Black leaders across the country who signed that letter. There were a set of questions that really challenged people to think deeply about what are we doing in terms of creating opportunities for people of color in this business. And I think that collective voice will certainly make an impact. And I think whatever we do individually just adds more strength to the base of the argument of why this is ever so important. So I just want to thank Al and Elliot for producing that, because it was an amazing piece, and we're glad and very proud to be a part of it.
Well, Greg, thank you for partnering with us. And Connie, I know you are with the group as well. And, who would have thought we would have to deal with a pandemic that's about 90 days old, that's, killed well over 100,000 people in America. And then we intersect that with social injustice issue based on race that we've been dealing with for over 400 years. I mean, it's just amazing. And so I look at what we're dealing with social injustice as a healthcare crisis. And I think racism is the worst disease in American history, and we have not dealt with it properly. We have not talked about it honestly, and now we have an opportunity to do it. And so the open letter is just first base. This is a conversation we should have had 100 years ago. And I'm a big proponent of diversity, inclusion, equity. We have to do that, continue to fight. But I think also in this conversation, we need to have almost in quotes, the treatment of African Americans in this country, because there's an all-out assault on Black America for years. And we got to have a conversation with our industry about it, but we need to have a conversation with America about it, because America has not done what it should have done. And because America hadn't done what it should have done, that's why public school systems in urban America look like they look. That's why mass incarceration locks up more Black men than anyone else in this country. That's why in most housing districts in urban America, it's in poverty and in ruins. And it's racism that has impacted this. Police brutality, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others who were murdered, police brutality is an outcome of racism. And so we have to begin to talk to our colleagues, our white colleagues, about board diversification, hiring Black folks from our colleges and universities, bring them in. Greg, your program should be a model, and I know Connie and Sherry, what you all are doing. Our colleagues around the country need to take a look at the work you all are doing to make a difference. Who do we spend our money with as DMOs from a vendor perspective? We have to have honest conversations. And what concerns me is right now, most of us are at home. And so we're watching TV, we're on social media. I don't want people to think this is a little sexy concept that we're dealing with. So when we go back to work and we take our kids to soccer practice and take them to camps, we take our mind off of this issue. And this is the moment in time for our industry to get better, because if we don't do this now, we're going to be talking about this 10, 15 years down the road. This is a moment in time for our industry to step up. Black folks, white folks, Hispanic, Latinx, all of us have to say, honestly, we have a racism issue in this country and we got to get it fixed. And enough is enough. And if we can't go there with an honest conversation, and it's going to be hard work. This is not going to be fixed in 30 days. This is years of work, but the time is now, and we have to do it. So I just appeal to everybody who's on this call. I know the leaders on this panel are all in, but it's going to take everybody, and to convince your leaders in your communities, your boards, your CEOs who may not be a person of color, they got to step up.
Great. I'm going to give a few things, and Al, I'm going to throw it back to you in a minute because to talk deeper about diversity, equity, and inclusion for DI. But some of the things that, as you mentioned, now is about having the voice, and it's about action. I think that we all have to speak up, and we all got to take the calls. And I think Karen, several of us were on a call a few weeks ago about it gets a little heavy right now because, we're maybe the go-to or however that is, but you know what, that's okay, because now is the time. Done several articles and again, the letter, and we have a statement, and I call it a statement of commitment on the GMCVB website about, our commitment to some things that we're doing, some things in the future. It showcases particularly about the industry and the pipeline. We have since 1991 had what's called the Black Hospitality Initiative, which gives scholarships to African-American and Black students in the hospitality industry. We've done over 450 scholarships and raised 3.5 million. So particularly if you're talking about what we're doing as a DMO, that's one of our programs for the pipeline. But there's more to do. And I happen to be a part of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for Destination International. And we're talking about that right now on how to expand the pipeline for persons of color, for Black people, for diversity. And I'm pitching it back to Al, because Al is actually the co-chair of that. And so talk a little bit more about that.
Well, it's really just for the first time, I think Destination International has brought in a lot of folks such as Connie and Greg and others, Karen's at the table, to help us have a conversation, definitely talking about pipeline, apprenticeship opportunities. We have to change the workforce, and we have to get more young folks of color, expose them to this industry. So that's a big piece of what we're doing. Another piece is for folks already in the industry, how do we get a pathway to develop more senior leaders? So when we, on this call of color, we volunteer for committees, we volunteer for boards, we're very involved in the industry, but when a job comes available and we interview, in a lot of cases, our white counterparts get the job. And a lot of times our white counterparts do less. They're on less committees, they're on less boards. They may have even made more mistakes than we've made. So I think there's an education that needs to take place of senior leadership in the industry, which in this day and time is primarily white. And they need to help us with that conversation. So I think this diversity, equity, inclusion committee, we want to get our DMO community on board to help us articulate this conversation. We want to be the model of it. And if we do it right, we need to broaden the conversation to our association friends, our venue friends, other folks in the hospitality industry. But I'm excited and optimistic about the conversation that's taking place right now. But we have to challenge the leadership. And I think too often we've let them off the hook and we go back to business as usual. So we have to have these conversations, and DI wants to be at the table, but I think it's got to go broader than just DI. I think other organizations need to partner as well.
And on that note, I'm going to jump in because we are almost at the 2 o'clock mark, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. I probably need to extend these webinars for at least an hour and a half because the content is so rich. And I know that many of the people who have signed on to these webinars, they're seeking answers from our leaders that are represented. They want to hear your voices. So we may look at extending the webinars to an hour and a half in the future. We do have over 40 questions that have come in for our panelists. And so Gloria, what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind wrapping it up with our panelists, then I'm going to dive into some of the questions. Unfortunately, we will not be able to answer all of them, but Gloria, if you can wrap it up with our panelists, and then I'll take it over and we'll answer some of these questions that have come through, okay?
Absolutely, Stephanie. And I'm sure that probably some of those questions that are coming in from our audience will be addressing the issues that we wanted to discuss. But the one that our last one is such an important one that might be the platform for going forward with something very major, Stephanie. And just in conclusion, I want to first of all, of course, thank all of our panelists, your comments, your insight, just so this information is so valuable. And I also want to remind you, our history shows us as African Americans, we have had adversity before. We're not strangers to adversity, but what our ancestors and what our parents have taught us, and we all need to remember this, necessity is the mother of invention. And what we've learned here at our publication is that we find a need and fill it. So I want to encourage everyone, and again, working together is going to make the difference. Thanks so much, Stephanie.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much. So again, let me dive into some of these questions. Okay, this question says, just today, Texas announced pulling back from their status of being open because of the surge in new cases of COVID-19. What is your contingency plan in case this happens in your destination? How will you respond to the public if this happens to you? Have you analyzed the potential impact of this type of situation on the small businesses owned by people of color, in particular Black businesses? Now that's like 5 questions in one. So let me ask Sherry. I'm going to ask a couple of you because there are other questions I want to pose to you all. Sherry, can you address that? And then Connie, do you mind addressing that question? Sherry?
Well, we want to make sure that health is vital before business, before dollars, because health is wealth. So we would practice, if our governor said that we're shutting down city, but then, our city, then we would have to adhere to that. We would just, go back to some of our local organizations to support the African-American businesses, the soul food restaurants, the barbecue restaurants, all of the ethnic restaurants, because they would have to go back to local because we're not having any events or conventions or meetings. That would be some of the initiatives that we would have to go back to, and consistently changing daily to these new normals. Because in an hour, the governor may shut the city down. So you got to be ready and prepared during these challenging times to what we're going to do next, and not just, okay, we're not going to do nothing, but we're going to do something. So that's would be the initiative that we would follow.
Thank you.
You know, I would say it's similar to the same thing. Health is first. We have to go by guidelines. It's a time to be creative and innovative. It's kind of like we're experiencing this now, but I know some of our businesses, even now in the midst of this, which you can't control, it's a great time to look at your business model, look at ways that you can pivot if this were to happen again, because it could continue on. So it's a perfect opportunity to do that. And I know a lot of our businesses are doing that. If it were to shut down again, I think, we would go back to all those things that, in particular, our restaurants. There are some businesses that can somewhat function during the shutdown, and there are others that it just doesn't work. Our restaurants can do the pickup and delivery, while others, just can't be open. So it's definitely a time of creation and innovation. And then I guess the last thing is that, I'm sure in a lot of the communities, there are a lot of governmental entities stepping up. There are grants, there are loans, there are all those type of things that our small businesses, in particular our Black businesses in those in the communities, can get. They're not big ones, but they're all helpful. If this were to happen again, let's hope that even private sector and other, just if everybody's in it for community, even the people typically that this wouldn't be their role might even step in to help facilitate this, because it's going to take cash for some of these businesses to continue and help. And so, I guess it's a time that if people would open their minds just to help make it work, it'd be good.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Karen, I'm going to throw this question to you. Speaking on the importance of accountability for not just non-Black brothers and sisters, but let me read that again. Not just to our non-Black brothers and sisters, but amongst ourselves as we promote Blacks in travel and tourism. So I think that what the question is how are we as Blacks in this industry holding ourselves accountable, to collaborating or working together along with, people who are not Black to advance Blacks in travel and tourism?
Well, I first like to kind of just make a note that, so for myself personally, I am one of only 3 or 4 African-American females who held a CEO position in the DMO industry. So I take that position very seriously. And I know that for me, I find that it is my responsibility to support this industry as well as to promote this industry to other minorities, students, those that are interested in coming on board. But I think from my role, I felt like it was important for me to stay engaged. I felt like it needed for me to remain active on boards, continuing to push the agenda. The destination marketing crosses all genres, all people, all market segments. We remain educated in our DMO partners with DI and US Travel and a host of other travel agencies that are out there. But then also being ready to pivot, because as none of us would have expected how COVID came in, you also have to be aware and be ready to pivot when a situation like this happens. So I think that the most important thing is that we have to remain present. We need to be at the table. We need to support organizations like Blacks in Travel and Tourism, Solomon and Gloria, and just remain in the forefront that this is how we're going to be able to support each other and show that we're committed to making sure that we're going to all work and survive this together. So I hope that answered the question, but for me, it was personal. And even to the point where at my last DMO, it was very intentional that I started a scholarship program. It was very intentional that I brought in interns that was from the local community to introduce them to this industry. So we have to do things intentional to bring people into this industry for us to be able to have more people like us that can identify with this industry. So
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Greg, I'm going to throw this one to you. What are you seeing the hotels and convention centers doing specifically to get people back into the actual meeting venues and meeting rooms other than just spraying or a sanitizing program?
Well, I think the idea that the virtual tours have been established creates a great way for people to have a visual interpretation of it. And the other is the idea that they work collaboratively with the CBB as well as our local hotel association to articulate the various advances and precautions that they have in place. We have two very large hotels in Philadelphia that during this period of time where their services are suspended, that they're investing, enhancing their property, preparing it for new guests to come in and see a brand new, completely redone facility. So I think, you know, the big thing is to be, once again, innovative. The virtual tour has been amazing, especially for those that are establishing a new product, but also working in a collaborative way, because you can't be isolated in the operation of your hotel in order to ensure that your message is reaching a broader audience. So working collaboratively with other organizations make it work. And finally, like I said, if you can improve the quality of the product during this shutdown time, it's a great way to prepare for when we do begin to welcome our guests back.
Thank you. Let's see, one more. We have time for two more questions. So Al, you want to take this one? Have you considered changing your membership fees or structure so that Black people, businesses, managers have access to the information that the DMO CBBs give to members? Some of the membership fees are too high, creates a barrier of entry for some Black businesses, which in turn creates an unfair playing field.
So great question. And actually, several years ago at Visit Baltimore, we created a diversity program for members, including African American, Latinx, Asian American, and women. And so they can be a part of the membership at Visit Baltimore for the first year free, and we'll promote their business. And then the second year, we'll do like a 75% discount for them. So that's what we have been doing probably for the past 6 years. The program has been in place, and our membership team is out there aggressively promoting Visit Baltimore to the diverse community. However, because of COVID, what we're getting ready to do is change our membership model even further. And we're going to eliminate fees for our members for the next probably 6 months. And we think there's a better way to do it. All of our members are hurting now. And so we don't think it's appropriate to ask them to send us money for membership. And we're going to try to enter into a partnership if they want to provide some gift cards that we can, as we bring visitors in, site visits, we do meals, we can use that as their in-kind value, if you will. And that'll be their way of showing their membership affiliation with Visit Baltimore moving forward. And so I think this plays to, and I know Greg's mentioned it, and Connie and others, we have to be creative. We can't do business as usual. And I think in the membership space, that's one place that we really can make a difference and sort of help our members. They can be a part of what we're doing, but do we really want to ask them for a check at this time? And so we've decided to hold off on that, at least for the next 6 months.
Thank you. I apologize. There are so many questions that have come through, but due to limited timing, we're just not able to get through them. But please know that we're going to be continuing these conversations. We have several webinars coming up for the month of July, and we will be bringing diverse voices and faces from the travel and tourism industry for the rest of the year. I just want to mention that on July 9th, we are bringing a panel of travel entrepreneurs to talk to their peers about how they have been able to pivot and sustain their businesses during COVID-19. On July 16th, we are currently working to pull together a panel of industry leaders to talk about the industry's response to Blacks in travel and tourism. And on July 23rd, with the help of Greg DeShields, we have pulled together a panel of educators from Black HBCUs, hospitality and management programs, to talk about how the hospitality and tourism programs are faring and what are their plans to help create the next leaders of Blacks in travel and tourism. You can visit our website at blacksintourism.org to learn more about those webinars, as well as to register for those webinars. We invite everyone who's tuned in to sign up to be a part of the collaborative, because we need you all to help what some of the initiatives we're going to be rolling out. We need you all to continue the conversations. So please go to blacksintourism.org to sign up so that we can get you plugged in to the work that we're going to be doing to help address diversity and inclusion and equity in this industry, as well as to advance Blacks in travel and tourism. This webinar has been recorded and it will be posted on our website if you would like to go back and view it, or if you want to share it. We welcome you to share the conversation with your peers, and we invite you to come back and join us on July 9th for our next webinar series. So I want to say thank you so very much to you, Gloria and Solomon, for your partnership and for moderating. Also, thank you, Sherry, to you and Visit Tampa Bay for co-presenting the webinar with us. And of course, I want to say thank you to Al, Karen, Greg, and Connie for your time and sharing what's happening in your destinations. So I just want to ask everyone to please be safe out there as our numbers are continuing to increase. We definitely want our economy to reopen so that we can start to take advantage of our beautiful destinations, but we have to be safe in how we do it. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today to the Blacks in Travel and Tourism Collaborative webinar series, and we look forward to seeing you again on July 9th. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
All right, good night, Connie.